Hello everybody, GL1 here. Welcome to the Premier Online Toy Museum. And today I'm going to talk about a bunch of ancient reptile tetrapods that are not dinosaurs. But I also want to highlight something that I worked on all week is a bunch of new displays. So when I do shows, I'm going to be able, especially on dinosaurs, I'm going to be able to have more of these fancy displays, and I'd like to tell you about how I made them so you can make them yourself because they're quite inexpensive and fun, and you can do all kinds of things which I'll be showing you. So what you see here, the display, is just a piece of 1.5 inch insulation foam. So you can get that at a hardware store. They even sell like 2x2 pieces, 2 foot by 2 foot. So you can just buy a piece like that, and then you can use the whole board or you can cut it. And if you cut it in extra pieces, you can use those pieces and make little hills and things, and you can use caulk to stick them down. You don't want to use a glue that has any petroleum distillates in it or anything like shoe goo, for example, which I use on many things. It actually has chemicals in it that will eat away the foam. So you have to use like caulk. And spray paint also eats away foam because it has chemicals in it, solvents that will eat away at the foam. But all right, so I took a foam board and then I took spray insulation foam, for cracks in your home. And then I just will make a design, you see? And I'll just go back and forth with it, and then I'll make big ones, and they do expand. And I'll make a mountainous area, and then over here. So I made a little lagoon, and then I painted with paint. I actually went to Dollar Tree, and I got pretty sizable things of paint. So you can get paint like this for $1.25, and it lasts a really long time. And I'll just squirt it right on the board, and then I'll use, for large areas, I'll just use a big paintbrush like a home paintbrush, and then get that all around. And then, of course, for the finer areas, so what I did is, in here I used kind of a lighter blue paint to demonstrate the waves are kind of crashing up on the shore and it's a little bit lighter. So you can get brushes like this also at Dollar Tree or any other dollar store. The same thing over here, right? Just, get a green paint. And actually this one I mixed my own green. I actually took some green paint and I mixed a little bit of black in it to make it a little bit darker. So you can do things like that. All right, so that's how I made this display. And these creatures that I have here all occurred within the 100 million years between the Permian extinction. I have my handy chart over here that I showed you on the last show. Okay, so between the Permian and the end of the Triassic. So from about here to here, okay? So Permian to Triassic, and then after that was Jurassic, and then Cretaceous, and before that Carboniferous, okay? So all of these creatures here are not dinosaurs, even though we have come to think of them as dinosaurs. And I'd say probably, Dimetrodon over here, we see a lot of in our lives and pictures and things like that and think it's a dinosaur. But these are some really cool toys. All of these are Jurassic Park, Jurassic World toys, except for this fella here. I was lucky enough to find this actually at a thrift shop. This arm broke, so I had to glue it. But his mouth opens and he's got these big teeth. All right. And this guy is Scaphonyx. And if you look this up, Scaphonyx, okay, Scaphonyx, sometimes they name him different things. All right. But this animal was around between 231 and 227 million years ago. So there were dinosaurs around then. He's known for his beak and his huge teeth, and he was found on 5 continents. So a very successful animal, about 4.3 feet long. But there were different kinds of this creature, and so they didn't really have a weight for it, anything that I could consider reliable. So, but I don't know, 4.5 feet long, I don't know, maybe 100, 200 pounds, could be less. All right. Then up here, you may have seen this if you watch all my shows. Shringosaurus is a really cool reptile and a predecessor to reptiles, dinosaurs, crocodiles, and birds. So the line that led to this dinosaur led to the reptiles of dinosaurs, birds, and crocodiles. Of course, what he's most known for is obvious, is these two big horns over his head, and it has a long neck for its size. And so it's considered a convergent evolution of ceratopsians like Triceratops and sauropods like, Brachiosaur. So it has a little bit of those features. Not a huge animal, about 10 to 13 feet long, but pretty heavy, 660 to 1,000 pounds. So to give you an idea, tiger is about, 600 pounds, 660. So this thing could be, bigger than a tiger. So it is not small. And it was found in India 245 million years ago. So the Permian extinction was about 251 million years ago. So this evolved about 5 million years after the Permian extinction. And even with those scary looking features on it, it was an herbivore. Okay, so it ate plants. All right, then over here, sitting here, this is in the water here, is a semi-aquatic animal. And this is a Nothosaurus. And this is early Triassic as well. So, and also very successful. This actually came about like right after the Permian extinction and then lived for various forms for 50 million years. So 250 to 200 million years, semi-aquatic. It is thought to be an ancestor of the plesiosaurs, like the Loch Ness Monster, is thought to be a plesiosaur. Those animals with the big broad body and flippers and a really long neck with a fish-eating mouth. So you could see some of those features here. Because it goes back so far to the Permian, right after the Permian extinction, early Triassic, Pangaea was all together, and this lived in the coastal waters around Pangaea, around, surrounding many of the land masses that would, break apart and become the continents. Okay, so that's Nothosaurus. And then also in the water here is another cool dinosaur, reptile, Tanystropheus. And Tanystropheus does look a lot like a plesiosaur, though it is not one. This was 242 to 232 million years ago. It's known for its neck being actually more of the length of the entire body, that the neck was actually, itself longer than its body, but only 13 vertebrae. So it didn't have a lot of vertebrae. The vertebrae just were very long. But to support those vertebrae, get this, it had ribs in its neck to support the muscle structure of the vertebrae. So it had, what you would call cervical vertebrae. Cervical vertebrae. Cervical ribs, actually. You have the cervical bones in your neck, and it would actually have ribs that would help support that. So it also had really long curved teeth. Now this is a small toy, and this is when the teeth are kind of just molded part of the head. So if it had a separate piece of plastic in there, they could have made the teeth more pointy and curved. That would demonstrate that, it was going to be a very effective fish eater. Although I'm pretty sure you can tell it would be a really good fish eater, right? Whip that neck around, and kind of like a whip probably, and, crack it and grab those fish really quick because those guys are slippery. What inspired this show is this new reptile that's come out as part of the Jurassic World Rebirth. And isn't he fantastic? And you can see what I was talking about. You see the separate plastic in here for the teeth, so much higher quality, way of making the mouth and the teeth. But I mean, really frightening mouth, right? Just a really awesome looking animal. And this is Enostransevia. This is a carnivorous therapsid therapsids were reptiles that led to mammals. And this guy was a long time ago. He was 260 to 254 million years ago. So again, just going back before actually the Permian extinction, not making it past the Permian extinction, but it's a Permian, long time ago, right? And 11 feet long and the size of a tiger, so 660 pounds. And they think that it may have eaten this guy. This is Lystrosaurus, and Lystrosaurus actually survived the Permian extinction. So, but he would have had, about 1 million years of eating this fella. And he also may have eaten, now this guy's 2,500 pounds, but would a tiger attack, let's say, a small rhinoceros or hippo? Yeah, maybe. So this guy, Scutosaurus, was also around for some time when Stransevia was around, so maybe it also preyed on him. On those, I should say. All right. Now, back here, you may have seen Edaphosaurus. This is not Dimetrodon. It looks like Dimetrodon, except that this was an herbivore. So Edaphosaurus, 303 to 272 million years ago. So this also is a Permian animal. It, died out before the Permian extinction. And it was about 11 and a half feet long and 600 pounds. So again, about the size of a tiger. And what we think these sails were, especially when they're very thin like this, is for temperature regulation. But then again, also it could be for display. In the toy, you can turn the tail like that and rotate the head, and then manually manipulate the mouth. And it does have some lateral articulation in its arms. And let's see where, there's the code. You can pull your code up there. So I like that. Actually, you know what? This is one of the newer ones, but you see they put the code back on the foot. And, as I've said, not a good idea, because if you're going to play with this outside in the dirt and you get dirt on it, then you can't read the code. And plus it's a lot smaller. And I find that the camera phones have a hard time reading that sometimes. All right, so then we do get over here to Scutosaurus, so 7 to 10 feet long, 2,500 pounds. They did make a Hammond collection version of this guy, so you can look for that. 264 to 252 million years ago, so it died out at the Permian extinction, and it's known for its osteoderms, so it had a lot of bone armor around it, and you can see it has some horns around its face for protection. So, definitely a formidable herbivore. And then we get to our old friend Dimetrodon, which, we've seen so many years. And this is a cool toy. Dimetrodons come out a lot of times. The early Jurassic Park toys, you would crank the foot like this and it would make the mouth open. This one doesn't do that, but it's a more accurate looking model, I think. This one has where you push on the sail and, oh no, he's got a boo-boo, and oh, he's better, and he's got a boo-boo, and he's better. So it's got that feature. Of course, it has the sail that, may or may not have been temperature regulation. 295 to 272 million years ago. So again, this is a Permian animal. It's a big one. It's 15 feet long, 550 pounds. So again, about the size of a lion, longer than Edaphosaurus. And this is also an animal a reptile that led to mammals. It's a synapsid, which is its own group. And synapsids are thought to have led to mammals, and it is a meat eater. And then here we go, our little fella here that survived the Permian extinction, and this is Lystrosaurus. And Lystrosaurus, 255 to 248 million years, so it made it over that hump and lived a couple more million years, and it is also found on several continents: Africa, India, Antarctica. Of course, they were all part of Pangaea at that time. So just one big supercontinent, 2 to 8 feet long. So they found species that are only 2 feet long. And how do they judge it's an adult, not a child? Well, bone rings, actually, or juvenile, I should say. So bone rings, so if it has enough bone rings, they can tell whether it's an adult and that it just maxed out at 2 feet long. And then some maxed out at 8 feet long. And it's going to weigh anywhere between 100 and 200 pounds. So that's the estimate. So there you go. Another comprehensive show on, tetrapods, which means four-footed animals that are reptiles and not dinosaurs, and brought to you today by Stransevia, part of the new Jurassic World Rebirth collection. So, these are easy to find, but, I think probably getting a couple of these might be worth it, because maybe they did hunt in packs and they'd go after Scutosaurus and you can play with it like that, because it would be more successful if they hunted that way. Also, this is one of those things I bet may be more valuable in time, because it's just really cool. And sometimes years later, people realize, whoa, that toy was really cool. I mean, look, it even has like scratches on it like it's been in battle. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that, and take care.